Hey everybody, we're just going to go over some of the problems that you guys asked me to do from the last problem set, 8.3. So we'll look at the first problem. The following steps explain how to reflect point A across the line y equals x. That's the one in red. Draw a line n through A 5, comma 1. That's blue. Perpendicular to the line y equals x. You can see where the two lines meet, they make a right angle. The slope of y equals x is 1. So the slope of line n is the negative reciprocal because it's perpendicular, so it is negative 1. From A, move 2 units left and 2 units up to the line that we're reflecting over, in this case, y equals x. Then move 2 more units left and 2 more units up to find the location of A prime on line n. The coordinates of A prime are 1, comma 5. Complete parts A through D. So already there's a few things that stick out already. You need to have perpendicular, and they have to make some sense. So B and C are already out of the question, and A is parallel. So I'm going to bet it's D. I'm going to use this pop out button right there and look at it here. And we already know that this point is, what was it, 5, comma 1, and we already know that this one was 1, comma 5. So hopefully that'll help you figure out what we're going to do. Remember, it said go over 1, 2 units, so I'm going back 2 units and then up 2 units. Then I'm going to do what? Go over 2 units and then up 2 units. Okay? So we're just carrying along the same slope. We just have to figure out a good way to get there. Now, if you're really good, you've already figured out some kind of pattern here. Okay? But let's keep going started. And you know what? Another way to look at this, and I'm going to be they're going to get mad at me for saying this, but look at A just for a second. I'm going to highlight it here, and then I'm going to go 1, 2 units on the slope. Look at this. Ready? I'll use a different color now. I'll use yellow. I'll start here, right? 1, 2 units. Wasn't that interesting? Maybe that can help you figure out another piece later on. Okay, so I selected D and got it right. Yay! Woohoo! So now it asks, what is the slope of each line? So that would be the slopes that are going through B and C, respectively, and they have to be parallel to N, so their slopes are also negative 1, right? The negative reciprocal of the red line. And you can see that we got it right. Now, it says reflect across these points, right? It says reflect B and C across line y equals x. What are the coordinates of B prime and C prime? Now, I wrote down 0, comma 3 and negative 3, comma 4, right? Those were the two I put down. Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to try to use that same pattern that I had here. I'm going to go from B 1 unit, and I'm going to go half a unit. Then I'm going to go what? Half a unit, and then I'm going to go 1 full unit. So right here should be B prime. And if we're right, then this should be 0, comma 3. And it is. So if I go over and make this assessment, it makes it a little bit easier, don't you think? If I'm looking at the slopes this way, I mean, is it technically the best way to do it? No, because you don't really know if you're at a half. However, because they're y equals x and its reciprocals, we can get away with this cheap trick, okay? So I'm just trying to give you a cheap trick to show you where we can plot our other points. Now, remember, B was at what? 3, comma 0. You start to see a pattern? C is at what? 4, comma negative 3. So what do you think C prime will be at? Well, let's see. Where is C prime going to end up? Maybe you can tell me if you already see the pattern. So Did I get it right? Yes, I did. All right, and here is the point that I was making. It said to pick the graph, and I picked C, and the reason why was because I looked at these points and I said, well, that's 5, 1, that was given. This is 1, comma 5, that was given. This is sort of given, right? That's 3, 0, and this right here was 4, negative 3. And then I just did a quick check. I went like 1, 2, 3, and a half. A half, 1, 2, 3. Oh, look, right there, that point. And what that point is labeled is negative 3, comma 4, if I'm not mistaken. You start to see the pattern. So, the last piece was asking about the pattern. And it says right here for D, triangle ABCD and triangle A prime, B prime, C prime make a conjecture about the coordinates of point P, A, comma, B reflected across the y equals x. And you can clearly see what I wrote. So what happens? The x and y, right, because we're not using x and y, no x or y, we're using A and B, right? So if we go back to this picture here for a second, and I use a different color to illustrate, 5 to switch. You see it? 1 to switch. Okay, let's do the C. 4 switches and negative 3 switches. So hopefully that helps you figure out that the pattern that we were talking about, and hopefully that helps you with that problem. Second problem here was 8.3.64, and there's a few things here that I want to make a note of. I've already made a note that this is the parabola button right here, and this is the line button right here. So what I did was I used the line to actually make a vertical line. And why did I put this at x equals 6? Well, the reason is I set whatever in the parentheses of our original problem equal to 0 and solve. That becomes the line of symmetry. So I drew the line of symmetry by using this button here. I made a point here, and then you can make a point anywhere else. It doesn't matter, and you make your point. I then evaluated our function. So we have y equals the quantity of x minus 6 squared, and I'm going to evaluate it at two different values. One below, where my value is at on the x-axis, and one above. So that means I'm going to evaluate at x equals 5 and x equals 7. So if we do this out, we get 5 minus 6 squared, or negative 1 squared, or 1. And then if we do the secondary one, it's 7 minus 6 squared equals 1 squared, or 1. And guess what? They should be the same darn thing. So then what I did was I went and used this parabola key. It's the 3-button function, and I'll use a different color now. I'll use the purple. And then I made the point. 1, comma 1. Right? Well, not 1, comma 1, sorry. This would be what? 5, comma 1. And this point would be what? 6, comma 1, right? Is that right? No, that's not right. Remember, we went 1 forward, so that's 7. So once you make those, you use the 3-point rule, and you make those 3 points. The next step is to delete the line of symmetry. So what did I do? I just selected the line, and I deleted it. And then I hit the graph button, and voila. Now, the funny part is about this problem is the last part is actually the very first part we started with. So it was easy to see that the line of symmetry was at that x equals 6. So I hope this helps. Let me know. We can have a discussion in the stream.